hit the record button. Um,
I'm trying to figure out how to share it. Maybe you just need to share it and then tag me to it.
yeah, I already shared. Oh, I already shared it though. Um, I have it up on my phone this time, so in case anybody comments, I can see it. Oh no, we were starting off good, man. We were starting off good. So this is a joke, but is it a stereotype to be late if you're a woman fashionably be late?
Listen, I'm not even addressing that. I'm not doing it because that same thing could be said about is a stereotype to be
Yeah, about
black.
bad people. Yeah,
And
but
we
I
appreciate.
listen, man.
Mm,
I embrace it. I am late for everything, man. I don't mind. I'd be late for court if it wasn't so much writing on it.
pretty
Oh
bad
my,
actually. If you're late for court, that's pretty bad. That's not.
it's pretty bad, man.
That's
It's
pretty
pretty
bad.
bad. I've had to speed. I've had to go ahead.
No, one of the things that I read, and I don't remember where I read it, is that part of the tardiness that some of the minority, and I use minority in relationship to the power structure of America, so work with me here,
Because I
some of
hate
the
that.
other ethnic groups.
Can we say why we don't like that word real quick before you finish your thought?
Sure, minorities are not really global minorities. They're
Yes,
actually the global majority. But
exactly.
in terms of the power structure of the West, they are the numerical minority.
Yeah.
Um, or at least the power,
Well,
uh,
and only because they group all the different categories of white into white,
I
and
understand.
that definition continues to expand, and now even includes Ethiopian and Egyptian. But
Right, which is
yeah,
ridiculous.
so
It's ridiculous.
yeah,
It's absolutely ridiculous. Yeah.
yeah. Go ahead.
Even the idea of I read this article and I may have been at Harvard Business Review as well, but Harvard Business Review was talking had a bunch of different articles about communication and the way that things are communicated and how they're communicated across the spectrum, across the globe, different cultures. And
Mhm.
one of the things that I remember reading somewhere is that in the more individualized cultures, language is very, very direct,
Mhm.
right?
And
In the
specific.
more communally organized cultures, language has a little bit more flower, et cetera, a little
Mhm.
bit more color.
Mhm.
Additionally, time is measured differently. The value of time is different in the more communally based scenarios. So if you're late, it's because you were doing communal things. It's not that necessarily you just woke up on the wrong side of the bed.
Mhm.
It's that in the more communally organized cultures, priorities are different than in the individualized cultures.
Mhm.
So even the entire concept of being late really is based on a Euro culture.
Yeah, I mean, you're running on train time, right? The trains don't wait for anyone.
Hmm.
Is kind of the value behind that, right? But yeah, and that's definitely a Western thing. I remember saying something like that. I remember showing up to one of our classes at Oakwood and making that same argument. I think it was pastoral counseling with what's his name, the Indian guy. Um,
Oh God, yeah,
yeah,
no, I never had him.
you
I
never
never
had
had him
him.
for it. I never had him.
We didn't
I
take
never
that
had him.
class together.
We did not. Excuse me. We did not.
Really?
We did not. We did not.
Impossible. No, Jason, we did.
I did not take a gentleman from India any
Not
course
not
from him
not,
at
not
Oakwood.
India. He was like from the islands.
I know. I did not take him. I know his niece. I worked with his niece. I did not take his class.
No, a lie. That's a lie. That's a
It is not a
lie.
lie. It's the truth.
Jason, I can
You took
see you
pastoral
right next to
you
me in
took
that
pastoral
class.
counseling from that guy, but I was down at Florida Hospital getting CPE, and his niece works in Florida.
No, 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 no. Impossible. It was
Okay.
Josiah. Josiah was in the class. It was you in the class.
I was not in that man's class.
Oh.
Josiah was in the class because Josiah went before me into pastoral care.
Yeah.
I was not in his class
Oh man,
because
my
I
memory
did
is
not
off.
intend on going there.
My memory is off because I can see you right next to me typing your little type, man.
Mm-mm. I was not in the class.
Oh man. Well, yeah. So I used that excuse one time with him, and he was first of all he rebuked me for like he like really like straight up like ridiculed me, right? But then
Mhm.
if you know anything about him, he'll show up like 20, 40 minutes late for class himself.
Right, right, right. Exactly.
Oh
Yeah.
man. It's all good. It's all good. Yeah. Did you get a message from her?
No, she said 7:10. So if she's not in the background in the green room, I don't
No,
know where
not
she's.
yet. Not
All
yet.
right. Well, I mean, she'll be there.
Yeah, she will. She
You
will.
got to keep going.
That's true. You know what? Let's just go ahead and well, see, that's the thing. We wanted her to jump
Well,
in.
she's gonna come in. Don't.
Yeah.
She'll be there.
Yeah. Um, yeah, and this is a good lesson too, man, to always be prepared. Well, you know what? We started talking about polarization real quick on Friday. Like the
Hmm.
whole idea of being polarizing, I think was a nice precursor to this conversation as well. Because we both shared the article. I got the article from you. Yours was posted without comment. I think it was mostly just like just read all the way through.
Hmm.
Um, and okay,
Then the meeting ID.
yeah, I'll get it to her. She
Right. So I think,
yeah.
and so the conversation where we were was that we were in the place. I was in the place at least, acknowledging that polarizing um, does not necessarily need to be combustible or insulting. Right. I don't need to be demeaning to be polarizing. Like
Mhm,
MLK was polarizing, but he was not demeaning.
mhm.
Um, yeah. I don't need to be
But
demeaning.
we start talking about Christ,
Right.
and an argument could be made that to the Pharisees he was demeaning, and what I'm saying.
Okay, now right, and so I will have to ask you this question. So because there's a case to be made for rebuking, and then there's a case to be made for your entire presentation being insulting and demeaning.
He didn't call them like fools, weeping, gnashing of teeth.
Yeah, and how often?
So the point is not necessarily to call people fools. It's like the idea that you can be an absolutist, or you can be um, you can stand for something without inherently, like, the minute you stand for something, you stand against something else, right? Christ said, "If you're not with me, you're for me," right? So
That's
I'm
not
sorry.
what it.
No,
Yes,
no, I'm sorry.
you're
No,
not.
if you
What?
if you're not for me, you're against me. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank
So
you.
thank you. So yeah, it's early, man. But password is it? Did you have to do a password?
I didn't have to do anything. I have no idea what's going on.
No.
So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, there's a little bit of challenges with the
We need
link.
a
This is our
producer.
second thing.
If you're watching this and you're a producer, holla at me.
Yeah, we're getting it. If you're right, yeah, we need Kirk Nugent. We we need to have a moment with Kirk Nugent.
Oh man. Um. Okay. Yeah. So that's the thing, and so obviously, when I reposted it, I did so with a little bit of inflammatory
A
behind it.
little bit of inflammatory. A little bit. That's what you want to call that? A little bit of inflammatory? Thing was incendiary, like that paragraph of
No, that's too
one
strong.
run-on sentence of incendiary. Like, good God, man. Seriously, just throw some gas on the fire.
Oh man. But you know what, man? And I guess we were almost we were commenting on the morality or the ethics or the efficacy of doing it like that, and whether or not it was here she is, acceptable by Christ standards.
Oh,
So
there she goes.
she's coming. It's a good picture. Yeah, I need a picture. I should do a picture like
Everything's acting up. Y'all had me up too early.
That's an entrance right there. Oh yeah, I love it. I love it. We just getting started now.
Oh man.
Oh,
Thank
you're
you so much for
recording
joining.
already.
We're recording. We're live. We're on the book.
Hello, everybody. They have me up too early.
I'm glad you could join us. Um, I think it was Jason who said something like, "Women are always late, man." So you might want to talk to
I
Jason.
did not. I did not say that. Don't do that.
So
Don't
we
do
might
that.
need to start
So
out
you
with
want to fight? Trying to fight? Trying to start off with
See?
a fight?
Don't do that. Don't do that.
We got the recording. We can run it back, Jason. Oh man. Okay, we're gonna let her get situated. Um, since you're showing off your mug, I'll show off my mug. There you go. You see that?
I'm not showing off a mug. I'm drinking tea. But that's a very nice
mug, man.
Very nice. Very nice.
I should get some fake tea.
Oh, that's what you get, you clown. That's what you get. That's what you get. That's what you get.
My daughter's laughing at me, man.
That's what you get.
Well, that's good comedy. You know, we're in comedy. We do it all, man. We got gimmicks ready for you in case our host shows up a little late.
There she is, right there. There she is. There she is.
I
You're
don't think
muted.
she saw that. It's good. Hopefully she, man.
I did see that.
You did?
Good.
Gave me a
Good.
nice little laugh, and she coming at me.
Call him on it. Call him on it.
Oh man, we're so glad you're here with us. Now you go by London or you go by Pastor Anderson?
Okay, yeah, either
How do
one.
we put some
Either one
respect
is
on your
fine.
name?
So my first name is Dejanay. A lot of people know me by Dejanay.
Okay.
But I've been going by D. London Anderson. But all of those are acceptable.
Okay.
I will respond.
Good.
Yeah.
I love that. Actually, I just saw a meme this morning about how Black women should insist that people spell and correct and correctly pronounce their names the right way. And there's no okay. Let's just jump right in.
Okay.
We prayed over you, so I don't know if you felt the spirit hit you, but we already anointed and know
The spirit is probably what got me up when you was praying. But yeah, what's up? So you want me to respond to that?
Sure, yeah.
I'm glowing too much. Let's turn this down a little bit. Okay,
sure.
There we go.
And if you want to share the video with your on Facebook with your people as well.
Your call.
Yeah, it's up to you.
I'm on my phone. Hold on a second.
Oh, Rose got an emoji. Okay, I see you, Rose. You up early with us. All right, Rose is a professional woman. We got somebody in the comments.
All right, I'll take it.
She jumps in with a couple of questions too. But yeah, Rose is killing it, man. Rose is her and her husband, man. Those are my people. So yeah. We're just getting settled in. Oh no, you know what? Those things that's probably for the water going over my face. That's what she's probably laughing at.
Probably so. Probably so.
Okay, so yeah, I'll share the link. I need to pull out my something else to share the link.
Yeah, take your time, preacher.
So I got in late. I think I got in at like 2?
At
2
in the morning.
Lord.
And then that's 3 in the morning Eastern Standard. So
yes, it is.
I'm up after 2.5 hours of sleep. Okay.
Oh no, that's commitment. That's dedication.
So if I may ask, where were you coming from?
I was coming from California. We had a family emergency.
Oh, no.
But everything's good so far. Out there, my family's very private, so I won't say more than that. But yes, and then there's a storm over here, so they canceled my flight in Dallas. So then I had to drive.
Where is over here?
Okay, so I'm in Lubbock, Texas, which is 5 hours north of Dallas.
Oh wow!
And so a snowstorm is coming through, so they canceled my connecting flight. So then I had to drive at the last minute, coming up here. And
they just straight up canceled the flight, like just canceled, not like postponed.
Well, they canceled and then rescheduled me for today. Okay. And then they canceled today and then didn't reschedule me at all.
Storm over here is bad, bro. It's bad. Like I'm in Colorado, and this is the coldest day that we've had in all of winter.
First of all,
it's going to be like below 4, right?
Yeah.
Excuse my ignorance, but I did not know it snowed in Texas.
So I'm in North Texas. So I don't think it snows in like Houston, you know.
They just get rain.
It does. It does snow because we're right above us is Oklahoma and Kansas.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, so we're in North. We're, I always say how there's like a little square at the top of Texas. We're like right there at the very bottom of that the square portion, and so we get snow, but it doesn't get bad normally. It normally doesn't get bad, but as O'Rourke said, this is the worst in a long time. It's gonna be below 4.
Wow.
Yeah, we're not leaving the house today. I can tell you that. We've already agreed. We will not leave the house until Wednesday.
We have food, we have wood, we have water. We're good.
Come on, man. Come on now.
We're good.
Man, I feel bad, man, because it's I want to suffer with you guys, but it's like 83 right now. It's
well. Listen, when you have a hurricane, I'm gonna be over here on the mountain.
So I'll be fine.
Where are you?
I'm in Florida, South Florida.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I just came from California. It was nice.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if heaven has temperature, it most likely is like Florida.
No, that 100% humidity is of the devil.
The climate, I think God's divine plan, the climate looks more like Florida than Denver, Colorado. I can guarantee you, man.
Look, y'all got my hair looking crazy, okay?
No, your hair looks great. I was gonna comment, but I didn't want to be sexist.
I appreciate it. No, but I'm like, anyways, it would be better if it wasn't so early and I had more time. Okay, let's see. I'm sharing it. Is that my brother? No, that's not what I thought it was. Okay. So yes, my name. That's what you were saying, something about my name.
Sure, yeah.
So yes, my name is not Dejanay. Okay, so for all the people out there who try to call me Dejanay, my name is not Dejanay. Okay, it's Day Dejanay. Day, like the day.
Why is that important to you? What does that mean to you?
Why is it important to me, man? Why is it important to me? Because it's my name. It's what my mother named me. So my full name is Dejanay London Anderson, right? Married name is Anderson. And so why is it important to me? Okay, you're asking the deep questions.
You're gonna get some questions today.
It's really that simple. Honestly, for me, is that it's and this is the thing, so since we're here, you asked me the question. I was going by D London, and people thought it was a secret that my name was Dejanay. That's not her name, but her name is Dejanay. It's not a secret. I'm like, what's wrong with you? What's the problem? Why is this bothering you that I want to go by my middle name? There's so much
behind that. That's so powerful.
That you think you can call me whatever you want to, even though it's my name.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you pronounced it right, because I would have been the one to call you Dejanay, and then I would have been salty.
It's D. It's spelled DAJANAE.
Yeah, I would have been that guy.
But Dejanay. I think what they're implying though is that London is the Queen's English. Like literally, that's where the Queen lives, right? So by emphasizing London over Dejanay, it's almost like, oh, we caught you. You really you're a sister girl, right? Like so that's
that's how it felt.
Yeah,
you Black. I know.
Yeah.
I don't have no problem. I'm not hiding.
Yeah.
I'm not bleaching my skin. None of that's happening. I wear my hair like this sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Rose says her hair is gorgeous. Love it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate
that's
it.
good. While we're on the subject of naming, before we jump in, because this you're on the hot seat. You're speaking for all women right now.
Oh my God.
No, I'm not.
Well, listen, you are a pastor. You're a professional woman. In the little bit of Facebook stalking I did, I saw that you are also a leader amongst a lot of the Seventh-day Adventist ministers as well. You are very well, in demand speaker on a lot of different Zoom flyers out there. So I mean, you're clearly doing your thing, and you're clearly representing yourself, God, your family very well. Now, just because we're on the subject of name, I didn't even write this down, but you said, you mentioned that you took your husband's name as well, right? And that there's a whole like history behind that too. And I'm just curious, given, the fact that you're also a leader and all those things, Kamala Harris did not take her husband's name, right? So if you would like to comment at all on that whole, subject, I think that would be very compelling.
About taking on my husband's
Well,
name.
first of all,
So
do we know where that practice started, what it means, why it happens, and then why you took it?
so the actual I'll be honest and say I can't sit here and spit off the entire history um of it happening. My understanding, yes, my understanding is that not all cultures do that. Some cultures take on, or is it? Um at least maybe it's not by name, but I know in the Hebrew culture, you were a Hebrew, you were a Jew through the lineage of the mother, right? But anyways, no, tell us,
You
teach
got you
us,
got to
tell
ask
us.
the D men. You got to ask the D men for
No,
that
I
one.
think that's a new phenomenon. I think that's a different. I think that's a late coming.
The Jewish name.
Taking Yeah, they track their history now through the mother. They do, but I think that's a little bit late because if you read the narratives in the Bible, it's always the son of so and so, the son of such and such.
Very
They
true.
follow the masculine trend. I would suggest
Right.
that happened. That's a much later
That's a
invention.
modern development.
Well, I don't know how modern, but I mean,
Yeah.
um, it's easier to trace through your mother because of the diasporic nature of the Hebrew people and their mothers and their daughters marrying, outside of the ethnicity. So you can get a better track of the global disbursement if you go through the mother than if you go through the father.
Mhm.
Um, so I think that's a modern within the last, when they
So
started doing genealogies, it happened recently.
what do you know about the taking on of your husband's name though? What is the history behind that?
Right. So I'm looking at it right now. Women went from being part of their parents' family to becoming now this is just a general concept, to being part of their
Property.
property.
You just keep letting me
Right.
say that
Wow.
word.
It is a property
Uh
thing.
oh.
It's a property thing.
Get it?
Um, it's a property thing. I confess it right now. And if you think about it in terms of antiquity,
Mhm.
right, the strongest rules. And so you always want to be attached to the strongest.
Mhm.
So my name is Jason O'Rourke, which means I am one of the sons of Rourke,
Mhm.
right? And Rourke was an ancient famous king. If I was back in that day and I said I'm a son of Rourke, people have to think second. They have to think twice before they say something off to me because
Mhm.
I'm part of the ancient Irish lineage
Mhm.
of Rourke. And so
Mhm.
there's a protective nature,
Mhm.
right? Which means that Rourke would have authority over me if I'm going to keep his last name. So I lose my protection and I lose a lot of things if I don't have a name and I cannot make a name for
Mhm.
myself.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now
So
the property part is quite demeaning,
yeah, I
For
mean,
sure.
So, I'm not defending property.
For
so
sure.
so London is your hyphenated name, or that's your middle name?
It's my middle
Your
name.
middle name. Okay.
Hmm.
So all right. So now we get into it, right? So you didn't hyphenate. You just straight up took your husband's name, right?
Correct.
So what does
Hmm.
that say? What does that mean? What is a state? Because there's a statement every time you choose to do that or not do that. It's a statement,
For
and
sure.
there's a philosophy behind that statement, right? So
Yeah.
where do you stand with that?
Yeah, so I definitely thought about hyphenating my name, right? It was gonna
Mhm.
be honest, my father has put a lot of pride right into
Mhm.
our name. Maxwell is
Come on,
my maiden name.
sure.
And so that's a famous name, at least here in the States.
Mhm.
Maxwell, people's first names are Maxwell, last names are Maxwell, and I'm sure it's beyond, it's not just people in the States. And so um yes, that was an option in my mind. I did not, how do I, man, you asked, I ain't prepared for this. In my mind, I took on the spiritual approach of I don't have a problem with my husband being the priest of our home, even though I'm the pastor. He's the chaplain. We're both ministers.
Wow.
And I don't have a problem with that. For me, my reasoning for my reasoning, I'm not coming for nobody else, right? But my reasoning is to feel the need to stand on my own. I'm not really all the way with you. I need everybody to know that I'm separate from you. I made it up in my mind a long time ago that I would not marry a man that did not already have that posture, that while we are married and we are becoming one, I don't have a problem taking on your name for the sake of oneness. At the same time, I needed to make sure that I was going to value a man that valued my independence apart from, maybe not say apart from, maybe that's not the right terminology that I want to use, but I'm my own person, though we are together.
There's autonomy.
And so with that, I had no problem taking on Anderson, because I knew my personhood would still be respected and I wouldn't be treated like property, right? My husband makes it a point to say, oh, you can call my wife yourself, you can contact her yourself.
Oh, yes.
No.
Go ahead.
So, and let me do that right now. So when I sent out the invitation to everybody watching, I sent the invitation to Dejanay and Ephraim, right? Consciously, I had no ill intent with that. I love them both. They're both in ministry, and I'm like, this will be really cool.
Be honest, Jason. It's man code. It's man code.
Wait a minute.
Go ahead.
I'm coming to that.
Yeah.
Coming to that. As I thought about it after the fact, I realized, no, like real talk, I was like, wait a minute. I'm talking to Ephraim's wife, who I don't know. I'm asking her to be on something, and I don't know her. She is a professional. And in the back of my mind, I'll have to be honest and say it was a man code sexist thing. I have to own that. I have to own it. But I'm not going to play the hand of saying whether I did it on purpose or not. I had to check myself, and that's why London, I did not respond and say this in the private message, like, oh, I think I made a mistake, because I want to make the apology here. That I recognize your professionalism and independence and individuality separate from Ephraim. And I appreciate how you all allow me to come to that, because I'm not gonna, like I said, I'm not gonna excuse anything, but it was a sexist move. It was a sexist move.
Well, first of all, Dejanay, I'm sorry, London, Dr. Anderson. You're gonna have all the names today.
That's fine.
Is that a sexist move? Would you?
I felt like it. Yeah, I felt like it. Wow. And so I didn't want to come, I didn't want to attack, right? And so instead I was like, hey, what's going on? I tried to make a joke out of it. I hope as you guys saw that I tried to make a joke out of it. And then Ephraim and I talked about it, and he was like, so yeah, I don't know why they included me in the message. Yeah. And I was like, well, say that, because I look like, I can look like a nerd at this point. But yeah, because I think it comes from a place of wanting to be respectful. Right? So I can be honest and say that while I did take it as disrespectful, I was able to still process in my mind that it came from a place of being respectful, because I am a man's wife, right? But then that kind of goes into this thing that we talked about of property, that in order, before I can speak to this man's property or engage with this man's property, I need his permission, right? Wow. And I don't think it was intentional, right? But I think it is implicit, and I think it's taught that a lot of and it go in, I guess, in a sense, both ways, right? So as a woman, I know that culturally speaking, if I'm talking to a man and he has a wife, then at the end or at the beginning of our conversation, I need to acknowledge
Mm-hmm.
that I know you have a wife. You have a
Mm-hmm.
wife. Please give your wife my regards.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's
Yeah.
get into the
Yeah.
business of
Okay.
why I
I'm glad
called
you
you.
said that. I'm glad you
Right?
said that. Yeah.
Right.
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 And so I can, there's also a respect thing there. But there's also been many, my preference is what many men have done. Hello, Mrs. Anderson, that right there identifies, that I'm married and you're not coming for me in a romantic or sexual way.
Mm-hmm.
You're not coming disrespectfully. Or have said, I really like you to preach. I was in school with your husband. Or some people just simply say, please give your husband my regards, just as I would do if I know that a man has a wife, to
Yeah.
let them know this is a professional or ministry-based conversation, nothing more than that.
Yeah.
So that's
I'm
my
really glad you shared that. I'm really glad you shared that. I remember the first time a young lady had the nerve to hug me and not hug my wife who was standing right next to me, right?
it's
Or not even
disrespectful.
acknowledge. So I didn't know that the code was being broken because I got married young, and so I was oblivious to it all. But if we're going to say it's true one way, then it's also true the other way. Um, and if we frame it in the respect versus disrespect, can it also be said to be sexist or non-sexist at the same time?
Yeah, I think so. I
Okay.
think so. Yeah, no, I think so. I think it still can be labeled as a sexist thing for the reasons that I've already
Okay.
explained. Um, yeah, for the reasons that I've already explained, because the reality, the culture is that as a woman, some women don't even speak to men,
Mhm.
especially to this day, especially if they're married. I won't even speak to you at all. I know women that I don't want to talk to. He's married. You're just asking him if he's gonna, bring something to the potluck
Mm.
because whatever it
Mm.
is, or you're
Mm.
just asking him to speak for this event that you're putting together, but you don't want to come off wrong. Like it's still a sexist thing because I feel like within our culture, there are still people now, people push against it or what have you in other cultures as well. But it's taken as a form of disrespect if you speak to the opposite sex
Mhm.
in many cultures around the world.
Mhm.
If a man is married, you do not talk to him. And that bleeds over into the US. The US is a country of immigrants. And
Mhm.
so you bring your culture with you, and a part of that culture is you don't even talk to the opposite sex because you don't want to come off as being flirtatious or being disrespectful
Yeah.
to either their singlehood or them being married, right? And so some women won't even talk to a man, and I think that puts all sorts of like not boundaries, barriers, because I think boundaries are acceptable, right? And so the boundary is letting it be known from the beginning why we're talking,
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
right? And as a young person, when I was fresh out of high school, at Oakwood, this story came to my mind. God told me to go and speak to a young man. And I was like, he's gonna think I'm trying to talk to him. I was
Mhm.
like romantically.
Mhm.
And I was in the lobby of Carter Hall, for those who know Oakwood,
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
right? I was in the
Hey.
lobby of Carter Hall. The men,
Club Carter.
the boys be in the lobby waiting for somebody, okay, or trying to catch something. And so I'm there rapping with my girls, and guys like, go talk to him. I'm like, I don't want to talk to him. He's gonna think I'm
Mm.
not trying to do that. I was like, go talk to him. So as soon as I spoke to him, I said, hello. I don't know your name, and I'm not over here trying to talk to you like that. Okay, that's not what this is. Like, let me just from the beginning, right? And that was awkward, but hey, that's the best I could do, right, at the time. And so introduced myself and said, I don't know what's going on in your life. I don't know what's happening, but God wanted me to come over here and speak to you. And as I'm speaking to you, at minimum, God, like, as the spirit was moving on my heart, it was, just tell him that I see him, that I'm paying attention. I know what he's going through. And from that point forward, that has been a part of my prayer. Lord, I know that you're paying attention.
Mhm.
Right. But that it started with that young man. That young man, some months later, sad to say, committed suicide.
Mm.
Right. So I didn't know. Then after he committed suicide, I'm like, what in the world? Like, God told me to talk to this guy,
Mm.
to say something to him. And, apparently he was at Oakwood, but he wasn't a Christian, and he was struggling with atheism. And we had a little bit of back and forth, right? Dialogue on Facebook, platonic,
Mhm.
right? Conversation on Facebook before he committed suicide. But I had no idea and I very firmly believe that's why God told me to go. But the culture says, don't go and just randomly. He was standing by himself. It wasn't a group of us. It was awkward, whatever. But as a minister,
Mhm.
this is what God was instructing me to do, to be a blessing to this young man.
Mhm.
Right. And so, anyways, that I for me, those things go hand in hand.
That's powerful.
Because if I have to wait, right, to talk to Jason until his wife is around,
Mhm.
I have to wait. Oh, let me not talk to him until his wife is there. That puts barriers, not boundaries, but unnecessary barriers between the ministry exchange.
Well said.
I agree. Well, and
Well
it sounds,
said.
if I may, so as I think about my own upbringing, it sounds like a significant two things are at play in the enculturation of this dysfunction, and that is assumptions and lack of communication.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Just lack of clear communication. Like
Right.
everyone's trying to talk around what they assume the next person wants, and it just becomes, and trying to make sure they're not or they are in, it just becomes a whole. And so the inability to actually say, I'm here for this, in any relationship. And even the fact that you mentioned that it's a global phenomenon
Mhm.
means that there is an assumption
Yeah.
that ill intentions is part of the conversation by
Or
default.
that sexuality is
Yeah.
automatic, like,
Right.
or romantic, or
Right.
yes, that romanticizing an exchange between a man and a woman. It's a problem.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right. And I know that a lot of my brothers, so this kind of feeds into a question that you guys wanted to ask me before, but it creates, for particularly, I won't say only, I think it would be very wrong to say only, but particularly for women in ministry, it creates an unhealthy barrier of ministry exchange. And this is what I'm referring to. I know that a lot of men were taught, do not talk to a woman by yourself.
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up.
She might be trying to sleep
Yeah.
with you.
Can
She
I
may be, go ahead.
I want you to elaborate, but also keep I'll include this. So Mike Pence famously said that he does not meet with women one-on-one with the door closed. And a lot of women jumped on him for saying that. But first of all, Jason, I don't know if it was explicitly said in theology classes, but I feel like it was taught at some level, like the same thing. Like, you gotta avoid the appearance of evil, right?
And well,
So,
and so
but I
let me
want to
take
hear
a
your
note. Let her please respond. I want to, and bring that question back to me when you're done with her.
Yeah.
So I think several things are at play. So I know, being in a Christian culture, right? That's and maybe it's not just, I believe that Muslims do the same thing, and Jews do the same thing. Like, some people won't even shake your hand as the opposite sex, right? It's inappropriate, it's disrespectful, ... So I think one thing is to be, for myself, I try to be respectful of culture while recognizing my own intent, right? What happened?
Don't know.
He's trying to show off the picture. That's what it is. But I'm surprised there wasn't a product for sale. I know he did that on purpose, man.
But okay, so let me get straight to it.
Yeah.
I agree that there are some women out here in these streets that are trifling. All right. So just in these church streets, in these hood streets, whatever streets, right? That there are some women that are out here trifling. Right?
Jason's giving you the Kermit, man.
Right. We can be honest about that. This is the truth. But to group all women is the problem. Personally, I do not have a problem with I'm going into a professor's office, right? One of my spiritual fathers used to do it all the time. I'll name him, Dr. Gregory Allen, right? Dr. Gregory Allen, I will go into his office to talk about a class or talk about something I was struggling with spiritually. And I would talk to him. His wife wouldn't be there. You know, sometimes she would be there because she would be there after class and stuff. But there would be times that his wife wouldn't be there. And he would have his door cracked open and his face in line of sight. I never asked him about it, but I understood. Dr. George Russell C. He would do the same thing. I would go and talk with him about life sometimes. Sometimes it wouldn't be class directly. And he would have his door, you know, cracked open. Now, if I start crying, if I'm going through something that's private, they would say, would you like to close the door? As respect for me, for the privacy of our conversation, but also checking to see my comfort level. Am I okay with being in a closed room with a man? I may have trauma. I may have secondhand trauma to where other women have told me their experiences. So I don't want to be in a closed room. So I'm not upset at it automatically, but I think there are also some situations where, and I've said this on other platforms, the precaution is there not because you're afraid I'm gonna do something, but the precaution is there because you don't know how to control yourself. So you need your own accountability, right? And so I don't want to take that out while it's frustrating that, you know, you're overly, because you think I'm attractive, you're sexualizing me in your mind. So you need to have the door open, or you can't shake my hand after, right? That's something that I've said. I'll go up to one of the preachers at Oakwood Theology Major, just like the men, hey, you know, your word, that was a dope word. And they're like, listen, don't want you, not attracted. That's, you know, but then you can come off rude or too strong, or, you know, a bunch of negative names that people call women if you say that. If you get this, you're shaking everybody else's hand, but now all of a sudden I walk up, right? This is a you problem because I didn't do nothing. I didn't say, oh, you look good. I didn't say that. I said your sermon was fire. As a theology major, I'm recognizing as a theology major, not as a woman, right? First, or and even if as a woman that's not trying to sexualize this interaction.
Wow.
And I
have so many follow-ups. Go ahead.
But I think she's hit on something that's so powerful because particularly in America, let me just say America for one, we can do the entire Western world for two. But the entire notion of the over-sexualization of women in general is throughout.
Is that assumption a given?
What, the over-sexualization of women?
Should every interaction be infused with that assumption that this man could potentially sexualizing me?
So let me say this. I would wonder, okay. Jane Elliott said, when she did an interview, she says, if you grew up in America, there's no way you didn't grow up a racist, because it's part of the culture. It's part of the social studies. It's part of everything, especially now in a pornified culture. I'm going to make an assertion that if you grew up in America or in the West period, and you're a man, you probably grew up a sexist and sexualizing women, period. The only person that you never sexualized, if you're a sane man, is your mom. Is your own family. Let's just be 100% honest. Our culture has ingratiated the over sexualization of everyone
Mm-hmm.
in every space,
Mm-hmm.
literally, literally in every space. I mean, like legit. I mean, like so to her point, you know, they say, you know, there's this, the story is told of E. Cleveland. And E. Cleveland told us his story. And somebody came into his office and he kept going around the table. And it's fine. That happened to him. My wife told me the story of a gentleman out of Canada that was so spiritual and everybody knew him as a minister. And then he walked into his office and there was somebody naked laying on his bed. He ran out screaming. Fine. But how many Ravi Zachariases do we have?
Wow. Wow. And I just learned about him.
I ain't mad at him.
Yeah.
I'm no
Yeah.
disrespect to him. I'm
Yeah.
not disrespecting him, his organization, the man, his life was a mess. And
Yeah.
let's be honest about that. And it's all coming out now.
That hurt
And
me, man. That hurt me.
it's painful
Yeah.
because with the great mind that he had, he also had great struggles and he injured a great many people.
Mm-hmm.
And how many of them do we have? No, like real talk.
Yeah.
As men,
Yeah.
how many of them do we have? So Dr. I'm gonna call you Dr. London because
Dr. London, Dr.
Dr. London.
Anderson,
Not
give
yet,
her
not yet.
respect.
But still, listen,
Give
the
her
women make a very
respect.
valid point. The women make a very valid
The
point.
due respect. I ain't no doctor. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? They make a very valid, she makes a very valid point.
Yeah.
You know, she makes a very valid point. There is an assumption that is made, and I'll even go this far. In a pornified culture, not just an over-sexualized, but a pornified culture,
Mhm.
right? You are taught that every woman wants you in a pornified culture.
So
Period.
so let's be real. Let's be real about it then, right? So if this is operating behind the scenes, right? This is the program running in the background, right? Would it then be naive to not act in accordance with that assumption? Like, so now because we live in this world, and it may not be you, it may not be me, but it may be the person walking down the hall who might say, I see they got the door closed, right? You know, so if that's operating in the background, would it be naive to say, oh, listen, I don't care what anybody says, I'm just going to close the door and let their imagination run wild because I know I'm not doing nothing, right? Knowing that good and well down the line, if someone wants to make an accusation, you have no defenses. You can't say this is my policy, therefore this couldn't have happened, right? So could that, how do you view that? And first of all, while you're answering that, is it a barrier or a boundary when they have the door cracked open?
Both. I'm going to say it's both. I'm going to say it's both. And I will defer
We
to,
got some women in the comments, man. I see Aisha
Good.
homegirl, you know, is commenting. Marjorie, I see you. Trudy, Trudy said, come on now, you're preaching, Dr. Anderson.
Yeah. But I'll defer. But it's a boundary, yes, but it's both. And so here's the deal: we have a boundary that is also a barrier. Because let's be very honest about it. Boundaries are equally barriers. That's what they are. Okay. In the ancient time, you had boundary stones that were barriers between my plot of land and yours. That's just facts, right? You can't get away from that. It is a boundary. It's my no-go pass point, and it's a barrier. You don't come past it either. And the real question is, while we have these boundaries and barriers, I'm done after this. I want to hear what Landon has to say. Yeah. While we're doing these boundaries and barriers, how are we re-educating the next generation, at least in the church, to view people as mutually in the image of God first and foremost, saved, sanctified, whatever, but to view them through that lens and not through the lens of whatever you just saw on the movie you saw last night. Now, I defer to London.
Yeah, no, I agree. And so then I'm gonna, you know, another professor, many of them were actually my spiritual father. So Dr. Ojuwang, for those who know Dr. Ojuwang, right? So Dr. Ojuwang, he had a slit in his when most professors had it covered, like the window, they had it covered for their own privacy, more than likely. But Dr. Ojuwang never had that slit, that window in his door covered. So he would close his door. But he would also stay on his side of the desk. Like I read body language. Okay. That's just, I had to, right? Growing up is something that you just learn to do. Yeah, and so that I learned to do, should I say. And so, you know, his body language, you know, his words were always welcoming, but his body language always, so he would give me a hug in the hallway, but he would never give me a hug in his office. I respect that. I see it, I respect it. I have some assumptions. He's never said anything straight out, but my assumption is you do not want you want to you want to avoid the appearance of evil. So when we're in the hallway, give you a one arm hug, we're good, right? When we're in your office, I don't get no hug at all. That's fine. And he's like, oh no, sit there. I'm trying to go over to give him a hug. He's like, oh no, like sit there, right? And so, for me, but this is the thing. There was something that you asked earlier. Is it fair to make it an assumption? And once again, this is one of those situations where I can't speak for all women, just like I can't speak for all men. That there are men, there have been men that I've been very uncomfortable with, that I don't want to be in the corner by myself with you. We can be in a full room of people, and you're just what you're giving me is more than what I want.
Yeah.
Right. So you can talk to me when there's someone next to me engaging in this conversation with me, even if we're in a full room of people, right?
Yeah.
But I think that some women do get offended. Some women can, and I don't want to say that that's wrong, because I don't know the details of the situation, right? I think that it's true that that we should, while we're setting barriers and boundaries, right, that we do continue to do that educational piece, because I think that the barrier and the boundary, as was stated before, is because of an overly sexualization of women, or the male and female, woman and man interaction. And so set the barrier as we educate, not put the barrier as a standalone, as a fix, because it's not a fix. Because you can still, there are people that come off as respectful towards women, right? But they're not. In reality, I'll just say it that way. They're not always. And so you still need to educate the mind and inform the spiritual nature of the matter.
Yeah, we got a great follow-up question in the comments, but I want to give you this analogy first to help frame this discussion as well, right? So, and Jason, you might be able to speak on this too. So, as a police officer approaches the car at traffic stop the same way each time, as if this person could be armed, right? And that's for their own safety. Once they check that box that this person is not a threat, they may let their guard down, take their hand off their gun, or whatever the case might be, right? But they operate. There's an order of of like analysis there, right? And so because again, it's for the avoidance of any type of safety issues, right? Now with men, right, or these pastors, these spiritual fathers of yours, right? Is it also fair for them to say, hey, listen, I don't know what this person's trauma or secondhand trauma is, right? And all these different things, what I could be triggering by closing this door and talking to her. So let me first operate under the assumption that, hey, arm's length, stay right there, one arm hug, pure visibility, right? And then as I begin to trust her and she begins to trust me, I can then close the door and take more liberties than I would normally take under normal circumstances. Is that sexist by definition, or is that just pure wisdom given the reality of things? And
the thing, go ahead, you weren't done.
Sure. And so what Trudy says is, are these, I think it also is saying the same thing, are these practices necessary not just to avoid the appearance of evil, but also due to the lack of accountability within the church?
Yeah, there's a bunch of questions. So first off, I'm gonna start with your analogy. Your analogy, right? I smirked, right? Because I'm like, yeah, sure, that's the training, but we know that there are also police officers that, because that's their training and because that's their initial assumption, they fire and ask questions later to unarmed people, right? And so I think that is still true even in this discussion. That analogy extends right into the bounds of this conversation, because I think that you can then assume something that is inaccurate and overreact and over respond. because men and women can do that as well. And so that's why I'm like, sure, there's something that was said here about not just avoiding the appearance, but actual, the accountability of the church, that it's not just the appearance of evil, but actually avoiding evil, because evil can take place. We know, we can be honest and say that in many instances, people have had good intention, right? So I'm saying a couple of different things here. And I hope, let me slow down so I don't
It's
sound
okay. You're good.
contradicting.
You're good. You're on point. You're flowing.
So I want to say that it's not a right psychology, the term in psychology, black and white, right? Not race, black and white, but it's not necessarily a black and white issue, right? It's not necessarily this or that every time. Mm-hmm. I think that, in terms of closing the door or not closing the door, I think what was highlighted, that Jason highlighted moments ago, is that you communicate. Are you okay with this door being open or closed? Right? Because I may be wanting to discuss something private, or some pastors, some businessmen, they will automatically just have another person there for protection. Okay. But what if I don't want that person there, right? So like it's communicating, right? I'm comfortable with you, I'm not comfortable with them. You trying to protect yourself, but then now we can't have this authentic interaction because you're trying to avoid the appearance and the reality of evil, or the possibility of evil, right? And so I don't have a do this every time. Outside of communicate, right? Wow. Communicate what your intention is. Communicate why you're doing what you're doing. I'm going to close this door, or I'm going to keep this door cracked open a little bit because I just, I don't want anybody to come to any negative assumptions. Okay. I say that one time. Now, every time that I do it, you know why. Right? Maybe you're not hip to the culture, right? Maybe you're not hip to my reason. Right? Because that's the other thing, to assume that everybody knows this. Not everyone is taught this. And then, something that was highlighted before, it says not all men sexualize women, whether they're in the church or outside of the church. I agree that not all people do, right? But because some, you have to approach with caution. But be aware that you're approaching with caution, so you don't shoot down an interaction, right? Pun intended, right? You don't shoot down an interaction because you want to be precautious. Communicate. There was something else. There were several things that you said.
Oh no, you're good. You're good, Dr. Anderson. You are a doctor today, man. You are killing it. I appreciate. Jason, I want to flip to the second subject that we have. But do you have a follow-up question on this topic while we're here?
No, honestly, I appreciate her transparency and directness on this. I agree 100% with what she said. We have a communication problem. And we have an acknowledgement problem. And what I mean by that is people have to be willing to acknowledge where they're weak and strong.
Yeah.
To themselves. I don't need to tell you all my business, but if I have to be honest of how I'm doing in the moment, and stop trying to cover it up with the mantle of ministry, stop trying to cover it up with a Bible text and a song, and just acknowledge how I'm doing and be fine. And be okay. And that if I have a boundary or if she has a boundary, then just respect it. And whoever made the comment that not all do it, that's true. That's true. I'll quote Muhammad Ali in jest. If 1,000 snakes are walking down the hallway, and I'm not going to sit around and try and figure out which one is non-poisonous. I'm not going to do that.
Good. That's good.
I think that in the modern culture, I think caution, spiritually led caution,
spirit-led communication,
and spirit-led communication, open, honest communication about who you are, your intentions, what you're about. I think that would go a long way, a very long way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I appreciate what she said. I'm good.
I think like she's right. That'll cover a multitude of sins. Open
Yeah.
Multitude.
Yeah.
Just talk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Aisha's gotta go, but I love this. She says, I love what you are saying. This conversation's everything. She says, Pastor Anderson, Dr. O'Rourke, City Councilman Dumas. I want to know why she's demoted me. Why I gotta be a city councilman? Why can't I be a congressman? I mean, or president? I gotta be, but we love you too,
What is the
Aisha.
mad face? Somebody put a mad face. What's the mad face? The angry emoji. Who did that?
Oh man. So listen, we have so much more. You said something that I want to highlight as a theme in this next phase of the conversation. You said you took the name for the sake of oneness, right? And I think that concept, that pressure, or that quote unquote duty that is often placed on women is also misused a lot as well.
I agree.
So I think that's going to be helpful. I wrote that down and I want to get back to it. So there was, I know you didn't get a chance to prepare on this one, Dr. Anderson, but this came up on my feed the other day and I thought it was so helpful. One is the article that Jason shared, and two is this
I didn't read it though.
no,
I
it's okay,
saw
it's
it.
okay, you're good. This article, where is it? No, this thread right here. All right, here we go. So I'm going to read this, right? And I'm going to omit the profanity, right?
Here we go.
Here we
Here
go.
we go.
So I'm gonna put my hood voice. Let me start. Hold on. This is not showing me the whole thing. Hold on. Let me log in. I don't even know my Facebook password. Let me just
That's
go to
pretty bad.
Hold on. Tag. I never know my password.
That's pretty bad.
Oh, come on. Get out of here. Who logged me out, man? I was perfectly fine. All right, let me see. Okay. So, hey, babe, I'm on break right now. Can you speak? I can only text right now. We're in a boring training. What's up? Babe, I didn't know you did that silhouette challenge. I'm upset because you know that filter can be removed and it will show your body. You never did any of the challenges before. Why now? It was something I wanted to do. I didn't see a problem with it. I don't care if they remove the red stuff. I had panties on, babe. It's not a big deal. Panties? That's all? Yes, just panties. Relax, babe. You're tripping. All right. That's something, you're on Twitter. You're my girlfriend. We represent each other. Keyword girlfriend, not your wife. It's my body and I'm embracing it. I don't understand why you're acting controlling all of a sudden. Emoji, right? She hit him with the emoji. Controlling, babe, I actually care because you know I have a 12-year-old daughter. She tells my baby mother everything, and I don't want a reason for her to be on my case. If a person chose to remove the red filter, it would reveal your breasts. That is not okay with me. How can you expect to be my wife when you're acting single? That's your daughter, sir, right? Why would she be on Twitter anyway? She's 12. I need you to understand that this is my body. I'm tired of men sexualizing everything we do. You can see my breasts, and I think it's cut off. And something about marry me. You messed up today. We'll continue this later. I'm done. So he says, are you going to delete the video off your Twitter? I said, no. We have nothing else to talk about then. We're done here. What do you mean done? I'm done or I'm finished means that you are completely exhausted, spent, and no longer able to continue in the task at hand. Oh, man.
It's too
Wait,
much.
wait, are you breaking up with me? Are you for real? I see that you can't compromise and I don't want that in my life. It would be different if you were this way, I think, before we met. Um, so, oh yeah, okay. So you decided to follow the trend of showing out. I don't need this stuff. My daughter won't be around that behavior. I'm done. Pick up the phone. Please pick up. I'm sorry. Pick up. Hello. Try and pick up. Okay, then. All right. And then, first of all, they need a lesson in communication. I think that's
Yes.
right.
They're both tripping.
But in terms of the topics that were highlighted here, I think there's a lot, Dr. Anderson. So first, I'm going to ask you to react in terms. What are your initial impressions? What are the themes that stood out to you as we jump in here?
This is a tough one, man.
On the spot, you on the hot seat. You thought you were sitting on a love seat. No, this is the hot seat.
Listen, this is just women. We just having a conversation about
What
women stuff, huh? It's
whatever.
not
I mean, it could be both.
ministry related directly. This
Yeah,
is
listen, we want the perspective of Dr. Anderson, however, wherever that
mm,
falls.
hmm. Man, that was a lot. That was a lot. Um, I don't even know where to start.
You want
I
me to
think I
prompt?
know what they're talking about. It's like
Yeah.
they do it's like the invisible challenge, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that what it is?
Yeah.
Oh no, the silhouette. I've seen
Yeah.
that one. Okay. I've seen that one too.
So I did have this conversation with a few friends of mine yesterday. Um,
Yeah.
and so a lot of the things that came up, well, one is again the over sexualizing aspect of it all. Like, so me doing this and people seeing the shape of my body, it's my body. I can do with it whatever I want. The idea that I'm your girlfriend, not your wife's, therefore you don't have this claim to me yet, almost implying that you may have that claim afterwards, but not now. So that whole idea of who owns the woman's body, right, in a relationship, who has a say over those things. The concept of the whole OnlyFans phenomenon, that's real popular right now, as well. Did come up, and
You said the OnlyFans.
yes,
Oh,
yeah, yeah,
yes,
yeah,
I've heard of
yeah,
that. I
yeah,
think I've heard of that.
yeah.
Yes. It's a website.
Yeah, and then so here's the
Mhm.
thing. So someone said um that the whole concept of taking control or taking ownership of taking the woman's body back. There's a lot of, comments you'll see out there about, hey, listen, it's my body. I'm embracing it. We're not playing your games anymore. In the 60s they were burning bras. It's kind of like a evolution of that going on right now. And basically um I'm taking this ownership now, and sometimes it might be retaliation, sometimes it's just exercising your own freedom. But the case, whatever the case is, it's my body. And we have all that going on at the same time. The Bible says, hey, wife, your body belongs to husband. Husband, your body belongs to wife. Or I'm paraphrasing, I'll put up the verse if we need to. But
Yeah.
you
First
know
Corinthians 7.
yeah, I'll get it. Come on, come on. Yes, yes,
I don't
yes.
know the verse, but it's a thing.
But
Mhm.
in terms of those themes, right? First of all, is he wrong for not wanting the woman's body to be on social media, even if it's just a silhouette or whatever the case? Or maybe that's too narrow of a question. Yeah, yeah. Go ahead, Jason. Help me out.
I think that in there is between the two of them, they have a conflict of values right now, is what I'm seeing. There's a conflict of values, right? Because he's thinking about his daughter and a bunch of other stuff, and it's a conflict of values. And I don't know how we can have I don't know, and I'm just speaking. I don't know how we can have a conversation about this without talking about values,
Hmm.
right? So I'm just not sure if if just the plain text is fair enough, because what's and I'm just, again, I'm speaking as a minister, right? I'm speaking as a minister, right? And to what London said earlier, being aware of the culture, right? Being aware of the culture. I mean, the New Testament is full of be aware of the culture. Be aware of the culture that you're in. Somebody got kicked out of the church because their behavior was totally abhorrent, even to the culture, right? So I think that we need to be very aware, because before, help me, Holy Ghost, before my wife is my wife, she belongs to God.
Hmm.
And so what does God look like in my wife? Forget my wife. What does God look like within me in the culture, right? That is the in among my people, among the space, as I walk down the street, for what the culture considers to be appropriate, do I meet? You know what I'm saying? And and this is just me. Now I'm speaking like a man. So London, you could correct me any time of the day. But in a country that overly sexualizes women by default, right? That, oh, I mean, like, legitimately in every turn, I fail to see how that is taking yourself back. and not feeding into the over sexualization. I fail to see it.
Oh wow, I didn't see that. I didn't see that
Because
angle.
no, look, like listen, look, if you look at the advertisements, if you look at the movies, if you look at fashions, if you look at everything for women's clothing, by and large, it is always, it is historically revealing and clinging. That's the way fashion has gone. So I fail to see how you're taking anything back
Oh,
by subtly revealing something. I don't
hold on,
see it.
hold on. We got to get Dr. London on this one.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You agree
Again,
with that premise, with that assumption?
Man, I'm asking myself. So, man, so I'm just gonna put myself out there a little bit right now.
Sure.
When I'm preaching or I'm in a ministerial setting, I wear certain types of clothes. I'm going on a date with my husband, or even, and I'm right, might get in trouble for this, but I'm just gonna tell the truth. So y'all know who y'all talking to. Okay. So if I'm going on a date with my husband or even just going out with my girls, I may not be right. But I agree and I accept this biblical truth that I am not my own, right? So I agree with that. Whether I'm married or not married, I am not my own. I belong to the Lord. My temple, my body belongs to the Lord, 100%. I understand. I don't know if I've wrestled with it enough, but I understand the concept of, so man, how do I say? The silhouette is a whole nother thing. I'm not even comfortable dealing with their conversation. I don't know who these people are. I'm not dealing with it. Okay. I'm not about to deal with these people conversation. We can take some principles from it, but I'm not about to get on that. Okay. So let me just say that. That's what I've decided in my mind. But I understand the concept of, like if you see, man, okay, I'll say this. So if you see the shape of my breasts, sure, you can sexualize them. You can also see that they're also used for breastfeeding, which is not a sexual thing, right? And so because you see maybe the shape, maybe even some skin, for that to automatically be a sexual thing, is the part of what's challenging. While I also understand the side that says, well, the man's mind. This is what's said. Now y'all deal with this, right?
Yeah.
The man, well, you got to know that when a man sees it,
he's not thinking about breastfeeding.
Tempting him, right?
He's not thinking National Geographic.
He's not thinking right. This is what's said, but it's like okay, so there's two sides. Some women say that's not my responsibility, that's on you. You need to get it together. Okay, that's a part of what's said. The other side is said is, oh, be my brother's keeper. So I understand this is your struggle, or this is the struggle of many men. So I'm going to act accordingly to not be a temptress, right? These are the two approaches, right? But I feel like there's wrong in both of them. The first one is like, I don't care about you. I only care about me. The other side is taking responsibility for somebody else's issue. And now I have to live my life covered. You know what I mean? Because you have a problem. And we see that within our society, like the onus of sexuality is put on the woman. We are the gatekeepers of sex. Right? We are the gatekeepers of sex that happens in the mind and sex that happens physically. And that's not okay.
Not at all.
Right. And I think, and while, the culture and the trend that you're talking about, I think that there are good things and bad things in them. What innately happens when you say, I need to cover up. Now, how women act this out may vary. Some I agree with, some I don't agree with. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens is I need to cover up because the man has a lust problem of the eyes. So now innately, this is what has happened, and this is what happens. Then my body's nasty.
Mm-hmm.
My body causes other people to sin.
Wow.
Mhm.
Wow.
My body is evil. My curves need to be hidden. There's shame associated with my curves and with my skin. Right? And that's what's being pushed up against. Okay. Now, I'm not going to do the silhouette challenge, me personally. Okay. That's just not going to happen. I'm not going to do that because for me,
it might bring people to the church. You sure?
I hate you right now. I really don't like you.
Gotta
Oh, well,
start
let me tag
You gotta be
on
on
this,
things
Dr.
to all
London.
men.
But let me say this to the
Gotta
men
start
because of what you said.
stuff.
What London just what you just said, London, is so key because at no time in the Bible does Jesus say that if a man looks at a woman to lust, that she
It's
needs to
her
put on
fault.
more clothes. He says, no. If you've got a lust problem, take your eye out. Let's be 100%. He puts the onus on the person with the problem.
With the lust problem.
He does that, especially in the church. In the church, he's speaking. He's not speaking to these people out there. I'm talking to my people. If you got a lust problem or a hand problem,
Come on. Come on.
Yeah.
you got a hand problem, cut your hand off. Like, let's keep it real.
Yeah.
He doesn't say nothing to the woman about this.
Yeah.
So, even in Jesus' time, particularly on the slant it has been a male problem. It's not been a woman problem. I would even go so far as to assert that even the notion of the temptress is predicated on men's inability to have self-control.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
sure.
I'm gonna push back. Right?
Go ahead.
All right.
Push.
So here we go. so I think it was Dave Chappelle who said something like if I see somebody with I think this was a skit who wears a police uniform, right? And then I'm getting robbed, I'm gonna call out to you to help me, right? Because I'm gonna assume that by the way you're dressed, you're here to protect and serve, right? If I see a firefighter outfit and there's a fire, I'm gonna assume that you can help to put the fire out, right? Therefore, if I see someone who is wearing super revealing clothes, I'm assuming you want someone to further, disrobe you at some point in the night, right? And it's a jump, but it's a conversation piece, right? So when that whole idea that she asked for it, right? Where they say, okay, you're victim blaming, right? You're victim blaming now. Why can't she be in a revealing dress at a bar at 2 a.m., getting drunk, right? Doesn't mean she wants your unsolicited advances, right? And so I'm just curious from your perspective, doctor, right? How do you reconcile that? Like on one hand they're saying you're victim blaming, on the other hand they're saying that what's the other hand, they're saying that she has a right to dress however she wants, just like a guy has a right to dress however he wants.
But in all of these, we're not teaching the man to control himself.
Responsibility,
Thank you very much.
self-control.
That's my problem that I'm having with the entire analogy. The entire analogy, if I'm being mugged, I call a cop, fine. Yes, if my house is burning, I call it. If I'm injured, I call a first responder. I got it. Okay, cool. But in the arena of intimacy, it is supposed to be mutuality. Secondly, women have autonomy and they have freedom or liberty, whatever word you want to use. They have the right to say no. A police officer does not have the right to say, I'm not coming to save you from being mugged. A firefighter
this is the other piece, right? Like, who defines what the outfit, if the outfit
come on. I'm glad you said that.
You know what I mean? So the outfit is a prostitute's outfit, and so I'm a prostitute. Like, who says that that's a prostitute's outfit? Who says? You know what I mean? And what it becomes is that the female that the physiology, not the the curves of a woman,
Yeah.
That's the prostitute's outfit. Having curves, your curves being seen, okay, is the prostitute's outfit in that analogy. Okay, and that's what's being pushed up against. Okay, and women push up against it differently. Okay, people do. Some people, and I'm not here, I try to take each individual at a time, because people, man, I mean, it all boils back down to you saying that if my body can be seen, if I'm not wearing a drape, right?
Yeah.
Then I have on a prostitute's outfit.
Yeah.
And you know what? And I'll even go so far as to say this. When I was first coming into the church, okay, me myself, I'm sure I saw what you're talking about, right? Dave Chappelle. I don't know if it was the Dave Chappelle show, if it was a stand-up, I don't remember, but I'm sure I've seen it. There were so many pastors saying it, okay? So many pastors quoting, they all of a sudden everybody want to go, but some people don't, they're like, Dave Chappelle, he's worldly, but now you want to quote him. Okay, so that's, right? There's that. But within that, how I then took it, because these were the messages that I was receiving. I remember I was reading messages to young people, and then I had this at the same time, right? They're beautiful things and messages to young people. Beautiful things are said there. But that on top of the culture told me that I'm the reason why pornography is a problem. That's how I took it, right? As a young person, I was 14, 15, really throughout my high school years. That's how I took it. My body is the reason why men cheat, men rape, men are adulterous, are fornicators. I'm the reason why. And if I can only dress differently, then the world would be a better place.
Wow.
And then I wouldn't cause my brothers to fall.
Wow.
And I took that onto myself. And my mother, my mother's not Adventist. My mother would clown me all the time and say, "You dressing like an old lady. Why you dressing like you 75 years old?" Right? And for me, because it was what I was taught to do, to hide my body so that I don't cause my brother to stumble and fall. Right? Because those are the scriptures out of context, are the scriptures that are used. You don't want to cause your brother to fall. You don't want to cause your brother to sin. So put some clothes on. Right? But I so love what O'Rourke just said, is that nowhere in scripture does it say, where it says when there's a lust problem, it's you take care of your lust problem. Okay? Now that's not my fault. That's not right, because that's what happens. The same. Sorry about that. Let me put my phone on Do Not Disturb real quick. It's on Do Not Disturb.
It happens. Don't worry about it.
It's all good. It's all good. Keep it flowing. Keep it flowing. It's the devil, man. The devil's a liar.
So that's I'm trying to get back focused. There is, I really don't have any more to say, honestly, about it. If you have another question, girl, stop calling me. Okay, hold on. Hold on really quick.
No, that was really well said, Jason.
I'm listening to you.
But let's talk about messages to young people for a moment. During the time when she's writing that book, what is happening? So here's a little background on E.G. White, right? So on the context. During the Civil War, okay, they were sending everybody, both the North and South, were sending by carrier pigeon and by mail nude pictures of like a 12-year-old or down to the men at the front lines, right? Nude pictures of this little girl, so that to motivate them. That's what they did. I read when I was at Oakwood, I did research, And I found out that New York wasn't called they didn't have a hierarchy as a social hierarchy. They had a hierarchy where a prostitute at the age of 16 was over the hill. You understand what I'm telling you? They had so many prostitutes in New York, and then it moved to Chicago. Sepulveda told us how it moved to Chicago. And in Chicago, they just get off the bus, not the bus, excuse me, the boat that landed in that river, in that lake over there. They get off, and immediately there's saloons, there's that women are immediately taken and thrust into prostitution. She's writing to the context of her time in an America that at no time valued their women. Look what's the name? The Southern value of the chastity of the Southern belle of garbage. Because when you look at what happened out west, those women were dressed the same, but they all they could do was prostitute because their land had been taken, their husbands had been killed, there was nothing else left for them, and they had dirty cowboys out there. And it's in every single Western movie that we make. We celebrate the dirty cowboy and the prostitute that has no other way to make it. We celebrate them. And that is the America that she's writing to. So when she tells these people how to function and she's talking about it in the time period. So again, context and culture is everything. You don't need to dress like Ellen White to reveal the beauty of God and that you are attached to God. You don't need to dress like Ellen White. And simultaneously, look, you mentioned prostitutes. I'm glad you mentioned that, Dr. London, because a prostitute must get paid.
That's marketing, preacher.
She must get paid.
Yeah.
Just because she's drinking at a bar doesn't mean that you have a right to go up and lay hands on her, to speak to her any old way, nothing. There must be an exchange, and that's if she's an independent. If not, then she has somebody you need to do business with first. So we treat them like they less than prostitutes, and and we're making it their fault in the church, and that's unconscionable.
Mm-hmm.
It's unconscionable.
Yeah.
It is our responsibility to take out our eye and cut off our hand. And if I know I got issues, put covenant eyes on my stuff. Tell my sisters, I love y'all like God in Christ, but I am struggling with a thing, so I'm not gonna give y'all Sabbath hug because of me. It ain't your problem. It's my fault. I don't disrespect you. I'm trying to respect you because of where I'm coming from. We need to own our own mess and stop putting it on the women. And if they have mess, then let the women handle them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hey, you preaching, man. You preaching.
Yeah.
You preaching.
No, I received that.
Well
No,
said.
I received that. Yeah. And I just, once again, if I can just highlight, just because a woman has on something where you can see her curves does not mean she has on a prostitute's outfit.
No.
Stop it.
Yeah.
Stop it. Stop it.
This concept though, doctor, I want to come back to it. For the sake of oneness, right? From before. Do you think that a lot of the reasons why women have borne the brunt of the lust, push and pull, is because for the sake of peace, or for the sake of righteousness, or so to speak, right? Or for the sake of some type of duty that supersedes in their minds the need to just be, to be free and to wear whatever makes you feel good, whatever the case might be. I'm sorry,
I
maybe
don't
I'm not
understand
phrasing
the question.
So
I don't know what you're
for
asking.
example, you mentioned how for the sake of oneness, right? You decided to take on a name, even though you're very proud of your father's name, etc. And you're definitely still an individual. Like, there's autonomy here, and your husband respects that, and it's a union of two individuals. You're not being absorbed. You're not property, whatever the case might be. But for the sake of oneness, right? You took the name. Right. Mm-hmm. So I do feel like, because I truly mentioned that the church's overall policy, right, more so reinforces the idea that the onus is on the woman to stop this lust problem, right, by the way they dress, right? And so I wonder if there's also another theme, like, for the sake of X, why women feel the need to take on that pressure, right? Rightfully or wrongfully, they almost take, like, what's the superseding value that they're prioritizing above the need for them to express themselves and however they want in their fashion? That what's the value that supersedes that, which is causing them to take on this problem for men?
Okay, you said a lot. I think you're asking, why the man's name and not the woman's last name? Is that?
No. More so when it comes to the fashion aspect, right? To the dressing aspect, right? So the modesty, right? We okay, maybe that's what it is. So there's it's clearly every woman knows they have the right to dress how how it pleases them, right? But for the sake of modesty, right? I'm going to choose to wear this drape because I don't want to tempt my brother, right?
Mhm.
So maybe modesty is the issue. Maybe we need to be more clear on what modesty means, because I'm trying to figure out why, even though it's not being explicitly said in the pulpits, why maybe it is, why women feel the need to carry all of this weight on them in terms of like to stop the lust thing.
Let me respond, Dr.
Yeah.
Anderson. It's because we have made the issue of immodesty a feminine issue. That's why. So
Okay.
men cannot be immodest. Women are immodest.
Well, Jason, you don't have any curves, man. I mean, how could you be?
But that's not the point.
But why?
That's
But
not
that's the
point.
thing. Why are curves
Why are curves a
the
problem?
Yes, that's the problem. Why are curves the problem? This is how my body is built. So you see
Yeah.
that I have it. Okay, I
Right.
have curves. I'm supposed to as a woman, right? It's abnormal for a woman not to have, no matter her race. No matter her race. I know a lot of people, right? No matter your race, you're supposed to. And I'm supposed to hide mine, but you're not supposed to hide yours.
And that's
Wow.
rude. It's rude, and it's dehumanizing. Honestly, it's dehumanizing when we make modesty a woman's issue and
A
not
curve issue.
a curve issue.
It's all
Right?
about the curves, man. The curves are
Right, because I can
dangerous,
tell you right
man.
now, some of y'all brothers out there are immodest because you're wearing these tight behind pants and you too fat to wear them. You immodest.
Mercy.
You immodest. You need to stop. You need to stop. Your suit is too small. You need to stop. You need to stop. You immodest because you got a gut hanging out, but you got a little half tie. Like, what are you doing? That's immodest. You look ridiculous. And
Listen,
it's not a
man.
turn on at all. You need to stop.
The curves,
But
man.
and this is the other thing. I'll say this. This is the other thing. I know science proves it, all that stuff, okay? But this idea that men are visual and women are not.
Oh, come on, Pastor. Come on, Pastor.
That's who.
Yeah.
I like to, you know what I'm saying? I like when things look good too. You know,
Come
and
on now.
it doesn't make sense, right? Like, let me take it like this. They say,
Oh, you guys are
this is
blind.
not
You
true.
guys don't see all colors. You don't see in 3D.
What are you talking about?
Okay. So okay, so this was my first thought, like the stereotype, not that this is true for everybody, but the stereotype is that women are the decorators. I know some men who can decorate some stuff, put an outfit together. Okay, so I understand that whether they're decorating the house, decorating their sales, whatever it is. But the stereotype is that the woman is the decorator, so she has a keen eye on what looks good, what looks nice, right? But then when we transfer that over into sexuality, we have a problem, right? That women also like when things look good, right? That when a person, so it's and my belief, while I understand that there's science and there's been surveys done and all of that, is that it's more of the way that the culture trains the difference between a girl and a boy. So I was just having this conversation with my sister the other day that we, love my parents, okay? Love my parents. I have a baby brother. He's 9 years younger than me. My baby sister, they're adults now, but my baby sister is 6 years younger than me. So my brother and sister are 3 years apart. My sister's older than him. He's the youngest, okay? He's in kindergarten. He has a girlfriend that's cute.
Yeah.
That's cute.
Yeah.
Okay? He's stealing my stuff to give to the girl, okay? It's cute, it's funny. Look at you, okay? My baby sister, she has a boyfriend in school, right? Well, she's in 3rd grade. She ain't kissing the little boy ain't touching her, nothing. They really just, they ain't even holding hands. They play at recess together, okay? My sister gets on punishment. My sister's on punishment.
Oh.
Okay, so she's in trouble for having a boyfriend, even though she's 3 years older than my brother who's in kindergarten with a girlfriend. We all know the little girl name. Okay? But we don't even stop to think. So my little sister breaks up with the little boy because she don't want to get in trouble. The little boy cussed her out, call her all types of names because she broke up with him because she don't want her daddy to whoop her behind. But fine, you know. Mm-hmm. And my sister, not only did she break up with the boy, but because there was an incident, because the boy cussed her out, now she's on punishment because now my dad found out she has a boyfriend. Mm-hmm. What I'm speaking to is the double standard in our society. Is that women are taught to have more self-control. That when we see your pants is too tight or you got on them sweatpants and it's falling, I have to control my mind and not assume anything overly sexual about you, but you don't have to control your mind when you see my natural shape.
Yeah.
It's not okay.
So let me ask you this, because you hit a key phrase, double standard, right?
It's a double standard.
So double standard has a negative connotation, as if everything has to be equal, right? But isn't there to a degree a certain level of double standards that just naturally exist? Like, I'm sure there are double standards in most relationships. There are definitely double standards in my relationship. And so is it fair to also say?
I just want to say that it's Valentine's Day, so be careful what you say.
Well, listen, even double, but that's a double standard too. I buy my wife something every Valentine's Day as a matter of principle, even though we don't really care for the holidays or for any holidays really that much. But I don't think I can remember the last time I received a gift on Valentine's Day.
Do you want something? You want to give?
I do.
Then tell her. Tell her you want to give too. No, I know you're talking generally, but I know you're talking, let me say, men, if you want something for Valentine's Day too, let your woman know.
But
let her know.
Yes.
Because this is what I'm saying. It takes both the man and the woman to create or to deconstruct the culture.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It takes and the man and the woman to create the structure and to reconstruct the culture.
Yeah,
exactly.
Okay, so it's not just the woman's responsibility. Yes, I understand, right? The concept of even my husband being he says we're both the priest of the home, right? That's how my husband, that's how my husband takes it. But when the Bible talks about Christ is to that the husband is supposed to love like Christ loved the church, right? Even unto death, right? That is a higher responsibility. Mm-hmm. I'll be fair and say that is a higher responsibility. But with that responsibility, right, and I'm going off kind of somewhere else, but with that responsibility comes servanthood.
Yeah.
It comes sacrifice, it does come sacrifice, right? Mm-hmm. But naturally, right, within the fallen state, right, not pre-fall, but post-fall, the Bible says that the woman is going to naturally be subservient. Mm-hmm. So if I'm naturally subservient because of the fall, then for you as the husband to come and also serve me, now we can have some equal footing. Mm-hmm. Because it's my nature post-fall, it's my nature. To want to take care of you.
You're
really opening it up. I don't see how we finish this in 15 minutes, Doctor. We'll try our best.
Well, I just want to say thank you up front before we, get to the last 15 for your willingness to diverge from the prescripted,
the questions. I don't think we touched those questions, man.
We didn't, but we did insert, because what she really did was she discussed about the double standard and the tension that our female colleagues go through every time they sit at a constituency, every time they go to PELC, every time they stand up in the pulpit. She described it. even though we didn't talk about it. She was telling us what is happening when the 7-to-1 ratio of women to men in our church are looking at the pastor or at the elders, right? That she's describing the vast majority of our church constituents.
Mhm.
She's explaining and expressing, and
And she's
so
doing a great job at that too. Yeah.
even though we didn't
Appreciate
get
it.
on the formal questions, I want to just upfront say thank you for your flexibility,
Yeah.
and just kind of going with us in our rambles.
Very, very much on the
You
spot. I
know,
appreciate it.
I- I've learned a lot.
Me too. But going back to the double standard thing, right? So there are double standards that we need to deconstruct as a group, right? As male and female. But there also are double standards that we openly embrace when it's to our advantage. And
Sure.
I think that's where the communication is required within each relationship to, and even as a community, to really be clear on what for example, right? Um, I remember, first of all, I loved Michelle Obama's book. I don't know if you've read it or not. It would be so
I
helpful if you
haven't.
did.
I haven't
You
read it though,
haven't?
but I have
Oh,
it.
man. Okay, so she talks about basically her glam squad. Or I forget what she calls it, but basically she's saying that for a woman to be in a position of leadership and influence in society, she needs three things. She needs a hairstylist, she needs a makeup artist, and she needs a dress or fashion designer or fashion consultant, right? Because you can go
Because
out
our
there.
value is bent on how we look
Oh
as
yeah,
women.
yeah. And so, but so break it down, because here she is. She could be seen easily as continuing the stereotype or pushing the stereotype with that statement. But at the same time, she's saying this is the world we live in, and if you want to be influential, I see your eyebrows are done, right? It's just a certain way you gotta.
He's gonna
you know,
make me fight you in real life.
oh man, no, we would be best friends, doctor.
No, I'm kidding. Go ahead, keep going.
No, but I mean, it's something to consider. Like, if I'm going to be a public person as a woman, I have more I need to put into my presentation than a man does, right? Um, Jason squinting, but I know his glasses are working. What do you think, doctor? Is that a fair assessment?
I'll say this. Looks he's trying to still getting his thoughts together. I'll say this. Man, to embrace what it is and make it be used for your betterment.
Mhm.
You know, man, there's so many thoughts. There are people do different things. And I'm not gonna say, like, yes, I like to look nice. Okay. I do like to look nice. But I can also admit that doing all that I did this morning to be ready, not that I did everything I wanted to do, right? to be ready is not every woman's value.
Mhm.
Not every woman has that value. I have friends who don't, you know what I mean? They throw it back in a ponytail, put on a shirt, and walk out. And she's treated with disrespect
Mm.
because she doesn't feed into the societal norm. I do. I'll sit here and admit that I do feed into the societal norm of I need to look put together. That's how my mother raised me, and I embrace that raising because I see benefit. Right? From a child, I saw benefit in how people treated me according to how I looked. Now,
Mhm.
some may say that I've drunk the Kool-Aid.
Mm.
And I wouldn't argue with them. I think there has been some of that.
Mm.
Okay? But I can admit it. I can admit that it's true. I can admit that, there's a certain, I won't, even though I have full eyebrows, there's a piece that be missing over here on this side. And so, I don't feel comfortable because I don't want somebody to say something to me sideways. It's a pressure.
Mhm.
It's because I don't want to be blasted. I don't want to be, there's a lot of women even on YouTube, right? Outside of the church, but women on YouTube who they do natural hair tutorials, and they would get on there without any makeup on, no foundation or powder or anything at all, and they got dragged.
Mm.
Okay, so the natural hair is okay, but the natural skin, because it has blemishes and flaws and scars and all of that, has to be covered. Now, do you fight? It's hard to fight up against the culture, is what I was saying. So some embrace it. Is it evil? Not necessarily. But what I'm saying, and what I'm agreeing with what has been said, is that that as men, you need to realize, right? You made the joke at the beginning when we started saying, that women are always late. The irony
Jason
is that
said
on
it.
our platform, right? The reality is on our platform, on my platform, Zoom Hope Live, I do it with Larry Green. He's a pastor in the Bahamas. He's Jamaican, but a pastor in Bahamas. We invite 2 men and 2 women every Sabbath to come onto our platform. The women are always on time. Okay, the men are always late. Actually, always late. Okay, but let's go with the stereotype that is sometimes true. It takes us longer to get ready. And to be ready and then be accepted when we get on. To be heard, for you to care about what I'm saying. I realize as an African-American, light-skinned woman, people are going to listen to me before they listen to my dark-skinned friends that don't draw their eyebrows on.
Wow.
It's messed up.
Yeah.
Right? It's not okay. It's not acceptable. Though I recognize that if I do it, what I'm saying will have more value in the perverted mind. Right? And when I say the perverted mind, I mean the sinful mind. I'm not talking about sexually perverted. Yeah. I'm talking about the evil stereotypes that we have in our minds of who's worthy of being heard and who's not worthy of being heard. And as a woman, society says you are not worthy of being heard unless you look good.
Wow.
And then people's standard of what look good changes. Yeah. So some people say my natural hair looks good. Some people say I need to flat iron my hair in order to look good. Some people say that my light skin makes me look good. Some people say, and more so, I'll be fair and say there's more that say my light skin looks good and less that say that the dark skin looks good. It's not, it's evil. Okay? And so I'm saying that even when we deal with sexuality, the difference between men and women with sexuality, the double standard is evil. I agree that not all double standards are evil, but this one is.
Well, see, the thing is, I love everything you're saying. And someone said, "Preacher sister," yes, and there's no ER at the end. That's an A, a sister with an A, because you were preaching. Yeah. So on one hand, right, navigating in this world, right, using, highlighting those things, using them to your advantage, or even playing into the system, right, when appropriate, and at the same time trying to deconstruct it and point out its flaws, right, and the lack of fairness in it. Can those two things, are they mutually exclusive? Can you do one without the other, or can you do both?
May I ask a question before she answers that? And I think this for me, this is kind of core, right? I really don't have faith in the change of society. I don't. I think that the kingdom is the place where all should be embraced. And I think that I expect sexism out there. I expect abuse, racism out there. I expect it, right? And so when I read Ephesians, I see Paul telling his servants, obey your masters, but then later on down he says, and likewise masters, which means masters obey your servants, right? So in the kingdom is supposed to be a place of mutuality, equity, and equality. Even if the world does not see us as equal, I am to treat my sister, because I'm in the kingdom, as equal. I'm to treat my wife because I'm in the kingdom. I'm to be a servant to my wife, even though Dr. Anderson says, hey, guess what? She said, I am naturally by nature bend towards subservience. Fine, but I am to come down beneath and lift my wife up, even though society says your wife must stay down.
Yeah.
And I think we need to make sure that we have a very, very clear difference, because the
But
values of the empire are different than the
But
values of
even within the kingdom, what Dr. Anderson is telling us is if she goes in the kingdom and she's not looking put together, quote unquote.
But that's not the kingdom.
Oh,
That's what he said, and I'm with it. That's
oh,
not the kingdom.
come on,
Right?
come
I'll
on.
sit here and I won't sit here and pretend that the way that I do things is how it's supposed to be done.
Okay.
Right? I'll like I said, I'm admitting that I've drunk some of the Kool-Aid and I enjoy it. Right? I'm admitting that. But that does not mean that is the standard of how it is supposed to be when we're talking about kingdom. It is how I maneuver in this world, because it is how I maneuver through this world. And as I maneuver through this world, I try to say, okay, this is the evil value. Do I want to outwardly push against it, or do I want to push up against it in a different way? And how I push up against it in a different way is I get on platforms like this, and you think you're going to get the status quo because I look like the status quo, and then I say something that's against what you know what I mean? Like, I stand up and talk about how beautiful my Black brothers and sisters and dark-skinned brothers and sisters are, even though you came because, whether it's conscious or subconscious, you know what I mean? You click and you start looking because, oh, she's cute, right? There, and I say this to my husband, I say this to my friends, my male and female friends, that there is a commercial beauty, or one could even say a worldly beauty, that I possess.
This is so good. I'm mad this has got to end. We've got 3 more minutes with Dr. Anderson. There was so much. I wanted to get into Jason's article so badly. Basically, the lady said she need if it's what's the title, Jason? It's if it's
the title basically says it's not your children holding your career back, it's your husband. And her premise was that if a woman wants to be a career woman, she needs to marry someone who is socially not as affluent as she is, and economically not as affluent as she is. And what they have found stereotypically, from in the article, they quote Harvard Business Review, and they talk about how women, there's an unspoken parental penalty once they have kids. It's not that people are skipping out, they're not checking out of work. It's that once they become a mom, their career suffers in some form or fashion. And one lady said that she even married a man that was 20 years her senior, so that he was retiring and he could stay at home with the kids. And she went on to have a great career because she married strategically for her career. And so that was the incendiary.
That's a whole conversation.
It's a whole thing.
Yeah. I had a nice incendiary. I was gonna say trophy husband. I was gonna.
But it's the opposite, because it's not a trophy husband, right? It's, man, that's crazy. I can speak on it too. But
you can speak on it. Oh man. Well, we might have to have you back, Dr. Anderson. This is so fun. We never met, but I'm talking to you like a sister. You definitely are very personable, and very well spoken, and I really enjoyed this time with you. I feel like we've known each other for a long time. Yeah, I was blessed. Jason usually wraps this up with his words of wisdom.
Oh man, please! I don't have words of wisdom.
Look, if I can, let me say this really quick.
Go ahead.
There was something I said at the end, and I just want to. The thought is still lingering in my mind that as people of privilege, right? Because that was one of the questions you all asked about how men could support women, right?
Yes, thank you.
Right, so that's a privilege. That's a state of privilege. You recognize that as a man, you have more privilege in the church than I do as a woman, okay? And I recognize that as a light-skinned African-American, I have more privilege than some of my dark-skinned, okay, African-Americans, or throughout the diaspora, right? And so I'm saying, let's bring in the scripture that says, you know, with I mean, it doesn't say privilege, but I think if you will allow me to assert the term privilege, with more privilege comes more responsibility. Okay.
That's right. That's right.
With more
Come
privilege
on.
comes more
Come on.
responsibility, and
Come
to
on.
make room, right, as Paul did as a Roman, made room, right, as Paul did as a Jew, made room because of his privilege, right? You count it as dung, you count it as foolishness, you count it as stupidity, right? That a man is supposed to be higher than a woman, that a light-skinned person is supposed to be higher than a dark-skinned person. You count it as dung, you count it as boo-boo, you count it as garbage. However, you utilize it because you realize that's the corruption that happens in the mind. You utilize it to bless others and to pull others
Wow.
up. You use your privilege, whatever the privilege is.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that is the closing
Yes.
word from the Lord today, beloved.
Yes.
Use your privilege.
Yes.
And
use your privilege for good.
Use your privilege to uplift other people. That is, as a man, we didn't really know the conversation was going to go like this. We never really planned. We try to plan, it never goes right. But as a man, acknowledge your privilege and acknowledge that you have been trained wrong by culture, and take responsibility for yourself.
Yes.
Take responsibility for yourself. Listen, I'm not going to preach. Dr. London has said everything.
I love it. Amen. In Jesus' name. Her name is Dejanay London Anderson.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Say
Yes,
it right. Get it right every time. We were blessed by your presence. Thank you so much. We're gonna wrap it up now. We a quick commercial. We may 2 weeks from now we got another one. So we have another one of these in 2 weeks. I don't even want to say the topic because that might change too. But but if you were blessed by this, like the YouTubers say, share, like, and subscribe, right? You know, all that good stuff. You know, this is going to be a podcast. So
ring the notification bell.
yeah,
right?
hit the notification. Click right here. Click right there. But you know, when we share the podcast,
follow.
You know, definitely subscribe as well. Help us to get these conversations out and bless as many people as possible. I think we really hit on some things, and I think this conversation needs to continue within our community, especially, and definitely within the kingdom as well. So,
if I may encourage Dejanay, I would encourage you, like, legitimately, take your stuff and put it down.
Yes.
Get it out, because if it does not exist on paper, it does not exist. Like, real talk, like, seriously. There are men like us that want to know and want to learn, and we want to improve. And the reality is our best intentions are blind spotted.
Yeah. Teach us to be anti-sexist, right?
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
That we can put a point in that.
That's the title of your book, Doctor. We prophesying. Teach us to be anti-sexist.
How to be an anti-sexist. There you go. Come on.
I appreciate the encouragement.
Listen, your ministry is just getting started. You in a minute, tell us where people can find you and support you. But you know, this is definitely the start of something powerful. I can definitely see God using you in this world, in this sphere, and in many other ways as well, because you're very capable and passionate. And I think when you put those two together, you can do some amazing things. So where can people find you? Where can people support you?
Yeah, so I'm on Facebook a lot. I guess I use my Instagram sometimes, but I'm on Facebook a lot. I'm still in the seminary. I will, you know,
oh, you
as
are?
Many of you know, I'm still in the seminary. Okay. So yeah, but I'm doing a distance because of COVID. It's allowed me to do a distance. So I am an Oakwood graduate, right? Theology major from Oakwood. And I'm at Andrews Seminary right now, getting my MDiv. And so I've been recently hired by Central State. So you'll be able to find me in Central State's conference rolling around. So I'm grateful for that. Very, very grateful for that. It's been 10 years, right? Since I've been in this ministry thing and finally got an assignment, pastoral assignment. Wow. And so, but Facebook, you can message me on Facebook. You can, reach out if you want to discuss some things. If you would like to ask me to come.
You don't have to include her husband.
You don't have to tag my husband in it.
Yeah, don't make my mistake. Jesus Christ.
Me,
Lord.
Though, yes. And so, what else? Yeah, Facebook. And then, I have another platform that I mentioned before, Zoom Hope Live. You can also find it on Facebook. You can find it in my thread, or you can just type in Zoom Hope Live. I think there's only one of us, and it's both myself and Pastor Larry Green, that do that. And we have discussions every Sabbath afternoon. So, blessings to everybody. This was fun. I do feel like y'all are my brothers now, on a different level, right? Brothers in Christ, sure. But I've also enjoyed this interaction and this time.
Absolutely, 100%.
Good stuff.
Listen, no silhouette challenge, all right?
No.
Yeah.
And the men, I've seen some silhouette challenges and some speedos too.
That's disturbing. That's disturbing.
Oh man. Well, listen, Jason, if it's disturbing for the men, it's got to be disturbing for the women, man. So
listen, when we were in Netherlands, man, we went to the beach and I saw a man in a mankini. He was just that big, gigantic.
It can either be disturbing.
Hey, you see what happens when we do overtime? Now we're talking about mankinis. Listen, man, we're gonna end it there, man. Definitely, subscribe, support, share, like all those good things. God bless. Actually, you know what, Pastor? Do you wanna do a benediction? Do you wanna pray for us?
Sure.
Yeah.
Can I say no? Can I say no?
Sure. Well, you can't say no.
I can. All right. Lord, our God.
Yes.
We are so grateful for this time. We are so grateful for this opportunity to talk, to discuss, to deal with things that are happening in our world, happening in our culture. And as you have called women first to yourself, as you have called men first to yourself, first to live and to abide in Christ, and then many of us, both women and men, into full time right ministry, as you have called all of us to be ministers. I ask that you will help us to see with your eyes, help us to hear, help us to see ourselves, and help us to see you. But Lord, help us to lift you up, to lift up the name of Christ, to lift up the person of Christ. Lord, there are men and women that are struggling with sexuality. And I ask that you will free us, that you will give us the strength and the power to overcome, that you will help us to see our own biases. As women have sexual biases and men have sexual biases, I ask, and evil biases, should I say, I ask that you will help us to dismantle those, that you will cast those things out and help us to see with your eyes. I ask that you will help us to see pre-fall love, unity, and oneness, and not so much to abide in the post-fall reality of humanity. And for that to be inclusive of the equality that existed between Adam and Eve before sin came into the world. Lord, I ask that you will bless my brothers here, O'Rourke and Dumas. I ask that you will just be with them, be with their ministry, be with their intentions, Lord God, to lift you up and to have real conversations that will lead to further conversations, that will lead to transformation in Christ Jesus. This is our request, and we are grateful. In the precious name of Christ, we do pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Amen. Thank you so much. Man, I'm ready to get rebaptized, man. That was beautiful. That was beautiful. All right. So you know what, Doctor, I'm gonna end the live stream, but I do, if you do have a minute, I would like to talk to you in a second. Okay. So all right, great. Thank you so much. All right, peace.